Hello, Janice, and to all the families that are here. We will always remember your infectious, booming laugh, your kindness and generosity. We will treasure the memories of the time we spent together in Florida when we were almost eaten by the sharks. Remember that? We love to see you in Miami when you drove all that way just to spend a few hours with us before we caught our flight when we got off the cruise. I love you for the way you treated my aunt. You both helped me to see what unconditional love was. You'll be missed, Charlie, very, very much. I love you. I miss you. And Janice, you too.
Hi, I'm Maral Kazazian, and I was very fortunate to work with Charlie for many years at Raytheon Aerospace and Defense. I will always remember Charlie as a soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and extremely knowledgeable engineer. After retiring from Raytheon, I had the opportunity to correspond with Charlie via email. And that's when I discovered that Charlie was not just an amazing engineer, he was actually a born educator with a vast knowledge of about anything you can think of. I have kept all his emails and occasionally go back and reread them. This is what he wrote on January 8, 2015. Jan cooked the perfect leg of lamb with potatoes. The innovation is the semolina flour sprinkled on the potatoes. It made it so crunchy. Try it, it's great. I promised him that I will one day soon, perhaps next week. Charlie and the love of his life, Jan, were always there for me, especially when I was going through the full hip replacement surgery 3 years ago. They sent me a beautiful icon and a silver pomegranate with a note. It is from Cyprus, a gift that brings a multitude of best wishes, good luck, and prosperity. I love it and hope you do as well. The icon and the silver pomegranate are on the shelf in my kitchen, and I think of you every time I pass by. God bless your soul, dear friend. Astvats Hokit Lusavore.
Hi, my name is Christina. I am a friend of Jen's, Charlie's stepdaughter. I met Charlie and Jan probably about 11 or 12 years ago when I moved into Jen's neighborhood in Vero Beach. I instantly liked them and felt so welcomed by them when I first met them. Charlie just was always so warm and caring towards me. That I will always remember that, and he will always have a special place in my heart. An example of what a great human being he was when I was going through a hard time, and he gave me a lot of, wisdom and great advice, about how life has its ups and downs, and you will get through this, and you're strong enough, and you will get to the other side. So I will always remember that, and how timely that was, that I needed some fatherly advice. So my take-home message from this video is, I just want you guys to know, which you guys already know, what a great father, grandfather, and husband he was, and that was just evident. It was just so genuine, and I'm just truly blessed to have known Charlie, and I love you guys and send you big hugs.
Thank you, Jan, for giving me the honor of contributing to this tribute to Charlie. Like everyone, I knew Charlie to be a kind, intuitive, and brilliant man. Charlie and I never spent a great deal of time alone together, but I believe we had a very special bond. This bond was formed by our roles as stepfathers. Charlie as Mike's stepdad and me as Emily's. We both were sensitive to the intricacies of that role. We love Mike and Emily not because we have to, but because of who they are. We experience the joy of watching them become the strong couple and wonderful parents that they are today. In our hearts, we hope that in our own very different ways, we are given a small amount of credit for that growth. We both love Ethan, Zachary, and Mason, especially for the joy that they bring to the world. I use love as a verb in the present tense, for even though Charlie is no longer with us, his love and his influence lives on in Mike, Emily, Mason, Zachary, and Ethan, as well as in everyone else that he has touched. Thank you, Jan.
Hello, Jan and Chuck here. Not Jan and Charlie, rather Jan and Chuck Overwooder. Speaking of some moments to remember. Life is full of rich coincidence. When we were living in Satellite Beach, friends of the family told my wife that a Fall River, Massachusetts high school classmate of hers was living in Floridana Beach. That friend happened to be Jan Orphanides. And when we first met, we made an easy new friend by shaking hands with her husband, Charlie. The sparkle in his eye seemed to be his pathway to absorbing knowledge. He had an easy smile, and it seemed it was there even when the corners of his mouth were not turned up by the way that he talked so enthusiastically of a plethora of things from geography, art, engineering, Cyprus, America, love, food, and so much more. His demeanor made it easy and comfortable to feel he was a friend. I remember the way he talked so caringly about his homeland of Cyprus, his parents, along with his siblings. He also talked so positive about his adopted country, America. He spoke of coming to America and living in New York as a 19-year-old student, and the way he described it was captivating. He spoke with deserved pride and stood a bit taller when talking about Aegis, the company that he founded. Through that window pane, he spoke without bragging about some of his inventions, focused on microcircuitry. It was absorbing to hear him explain that he created microchips that are on the spacecraft Explorer, which has been going deeper into space for over 40 years. Charlie loved and was knowledgeable in the world of art. He was enamored with mermaids, octopi, and mythology in all art forms. Charlie loved food, and to watch him partake in good cuisine was to see a man that enjoyed life and saw food as something to linger over in the company of friends. He felt comfortable around others. Jan and Charlie had a lot of social events at their beloved Floridana Beach Shangri-La. Their love and their love of that place near the ocean made everyone lucky enough to be a guest at their parties go home happier than when they arrived. In 2010, while we were on vacation in Virginia, we got a call from Charlie. My wife took the call, and the concern in her voice evolved into teary eyes as Charlie explained that he had been diagnosed with a brain glioma. My Jan, having a medical background, immediately knew that this was a very serious condition and knew the statistics about survivability. So it was a highly emotional event to hear Charlie explain it and to tell us that he wanted us to know. That's Charlie. He and his wife Jan were not going to take this diagnosis without challenging it. They took his Facebook army through the process of fighting this malady with the intent of beating it and giving medical science a guinea pig that would help scientists develop capabilities that may save others in the future by using some of the data garnered from Charlie's bravery and innate interest in all things scientific. I recall gathering for food and drink at their Floridana Beach home after the diagnosis. Charlie and I were sitting outside, talking about things in general, and the conversation turned to his grandchildren. He was a stoic man with a keen sense of humor. But during the conversation, his lip quivered and a tear came to his eye and trickled down his cheek. As he shared with me his regret that his grandchildren would not get to know him as he dreamed that they would. We talked of ways that he might accomplish what he could with what time he had left, which statistics said would be a year at most. As we know, with Jan's unending support and Charlie's stamina and conviction, he beat the odds big time and lived over 5 years after diagnosis. During that time, he took in life as much as possible, traveling and trying his best to let his and Jan's children and grandchildren know how much he loved them, and show them and us all how life should be lived in the best and worst of times. During that process, we saw a love story that awed us all, as Jan and Charlie were the consummate Glioma fighting team. Their display of love through this journey touched us all. I think just one of the many notable examples of who Charlie is as a human being is the time he spent talking to autistic students at Atlantis Academy. He talked about complicated concepts associated with physics and space and other technical subjects that his engineering-trained mind grasped so eloquently. Here is a man that was going through tough treatment, and his body was often complaining, but he found it important to give the students what knowledge he could to help them grow academically and emotionally. In return, they loved him, and thus Charlie added another star to his legacy. Finally, I will never forget the tear in Charlie's eye and the quivering lip that showed so much emotion about how he loved his family, present and to come in the future. It was so symbolic of his determination and priorities. He wanted a family to know him, and Charlie was a precious gift to all of us, lucky enough to have crossed his path. Thank you, Charlie, for casting a light on how to live life beautifully. That glow will be with us always. Charlie, if you're listening, my Jan would like to know if you have the answer to your famous question: why are there so many mattress stores? Farewell, my friend.
Hello, my name is Levon Manassian, and I'd like to express my sorrow on Charlie's passing. I have known actually Charlie for, I would say, well over 12 years plus. He is a Raytheon colleague of mine, and we were actually the first original group brought upon or on board to Raytheon, and we've shared many wonderful experiences together out in the workforce, and I've basically established an unbelievable bond with Charlie. He is my big brother, and he's a very humble man, a caring man, and a very family-oriented man. I live in Los Angeles, California, and basically the times that we always used to speak over the phone and the few times a year that we would actually meet in person, it just always felt that as if I saw him just yesterday. So he forever will have a special place in my heart. He's going to be dearly missed, but will never be forgotten. To Jan, I want to express my deepest condolences to you and your family. Jan, I know how we have kept in touch also all these years, and I just want to let you know that I love you, and I want you and I to basically, keep in touch as we always do, continue to do that forever. My friendship and my love towards you is sincere and very deep, and you also have a special place in my heart forever. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Merring, and I'm a friend of Charlie Orphanides. Charlie and I worked at Raytheon together. Charlie was on a team of field quality engineers in our Raytheon Space and Airborne Systems Division. In that job, Charlie was responsible, and there were 18 others that were responsible for every day going out and working with our supply base making sure that suppliers understood the contract requirements, and also making sure as they built it, it was going to comply, and then making sure that the final product, when they were ready to sell to Raytheon, that would meet Raytheon's requirements. So it was a very highly technical job, and also highly classified in certain circumstances. Anyway, they had a change in leadership. I applied for the job as manager of the team and was accepted. I came into the team, and I remember my first couple of conference calls. And you got to remember, everyone's working from home. They're all across the U.S. And I had my first couple of conference calls, and I couldn't even get through the calls because the team was so frustrated and even angry. They were great individuals, but the team was not functioning well. So after a couple of calls, I knew I had to do something. And so what I did was I went out and started meeting all the people in their home base, meet with them and talk with them, and size up the talent that I had on the team. Charlie came across very clearly as one of the leaders on the team. In an organization, you have formal leaders and informal leaders. I was the formal leader, being designated as the manager, but Charlie certainly was an informal leader. He was an opinion leader on the team. As Charlie went, so did the team. I figured that out. I went to Charlie and I asked him if I could have his help. I needed him to work with me to get the team turned around so that it would be a functioning team and get the team health up to where it needed to be. Charlie and I talked it over, and he agreed to work with me on that. So what I did was, as I started as a new manager, as I started looking at how to run the team, how to measure the team, how to organize it, I would go to Charlie first, and I would show it to him, ask his opinions. Charlie would he'd tell me the good and the bad. I would make modifications, and then once he and I both agreed, then I would go to the team and I would have team meetings and say, here's what we're going to be doing, and here's how we're going to go about it. Charlie would speak up on those calls and say, I think it's a good idea, Steve. And the team all just like, all right. And then of course after the meetings, then they were immediately calling up Charlie, what's going on? And Charlie said, give it a chance. I think this is going to work. So Charlie and I worked through that together. And I'll tell you, the conference calls became very good very shortly after that. It took about 6 months, and the team health became great, and the team was operating so well. And I give a lot of credit to Charlie, his leadership, his opinions, the way he works with people, how highly regarded he was by everyone. So Charlie called me up and told me about his illness. That hit me pretty hard. It hit everyone on the team really hard. That was tough to take. I remember flying out to Florida at one point, meeting with Charlie and Jan. That's the first time I met Jan in person. I talked to her on the phone certainly many times during Charlie's illness, but I flew out there and met him at their home, and I thought Charlie was strong. Wow, Jan is strong too, and the love they had for each other and the strength they had for each other, just so admirable. I recall Charlie giving me a book. It was on Greek mythology. It was in Greek, and luckily it was also in English. And Charlie had inscribed something in it, and the book was about leadership. And Charlie gave that to me, and that meant a lot. So anyway, Charlie's passing again was hard to take. That was it's a bad time. But you go through life, and you meet so many people. But of all the people people you meet, there's going to be a handful of people that really made a difference. A handful of people that you'll never forget. And Charlie's in my handful. And anyway, Charlie, I wanted to thank you for everything you did for me and for our team. And I miss you. God bless.
Hi, we want to say a little bit about Charlie.
Sorry we couldn't be there with you all.
To us, Charlie was like a good book or a record. You always wanted to learn more from him or to keep listening. He was a font of knowledge. He was like a pillar holding up a grand temple. And he truly cared about his friends and his family and his associates. I mean, we lived thousands of miles away, but he was always truly interested and engaged, you know, the few times that we got to be with him. He left his mark on the world, and his contributions will keep giving for ages.
An absolute inspiration to all of us.
Good morning. My name is Steve Struck. All good stories need to start at the beginning, so I want to share with you how I met Charlie and a little about all the things he did for me over the 20 plus years we were colleagues and friends. You already know that Charlie was one of the founding partners of Aegis in New Bedford. He and the others built a very successful business. In April of 1995, I was asked to take over as president of Aegis and help lead the business going forward. That was sort of a funny situation, as Charlie and one of the other original partners were still very active in the business. Having an outsider become the leader was almost amusing. I knew very little about the business, and Charlie and the others knew everything. I mention this because it would have been very easy for that experienced team to dismiss me as the outsider I was, but that didn't happen. And it was in large part because Charlie welcomed me as he would family. He could have just tolerated me, humored me, put up with me, but rather, he chose to help me. Charlie saw to it that I got a quick education in the business and its history. He introduced me to the longtime players in the industry and made sure I paid attention to its key customers. In short, he did everything he could to help. That would not have happened without Charlie. Charlie was my sounding board, an always cheerful and patient teacher, an explainer, an engineer who could make things clearer to those of us who were not engineers. You know what I'm saying, Steve? I heard him speak those 5 words 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? It was his tagline for the latest lesson he was teaching. Over the years, Charlie became a good friend. When Jan and Charlie semi-retired and moved to Florida, Aegis arranged to keep them on retainer. We didn't have a clear idea of what we would have them do, but they were so well connected in the industry, and more importantly, such good people, we couldn't bear the thought of having them work for somebody else. It was a terrific move, and the two of them helped us with trade shows and customer calls for several years. When Charlie finally left Aegis, it was to move on to longtime customer Raytheon, where his problem-solving skills fit perfectly. Great move for him, great for Raytheon, not so good for us, but we understood and wished him well. I want to mention one last thing. For many years after his diagnosis, Charlie and I continued to correspond from time to time and chat on the phone occasionally. What really stands out to me was how in the midst of his personal issues, he continued to follow technology and have an active mind. In the months before his death, we talked about 3D printing and battery technology, 2 subjects of interest to a company that I work for occasionally. You see that engineer's mind and his willingness to share and help continued through thick and thin. But that was Charlie. Always there, always interested, always helping. To say he'll be missed is an understatement. Charlie is irreplaceable. You know what I'm saying?
I've known Coolies for many, many years. Since I was 7 years old when I moved to the neighborhood. We've been friends ever since. And I'm really proud to be his friend. I can't forget the last time I met him in Florida, when I went to his house. I was staying at the time at plate like with Estrodemus. And I rang him up. He said he was to leave without seeing me. He came all the way and picked me up. And we spent the whole day together. I won't forget that day. He was so kind. Devastated when I met I heard that he was lost. When we were at the gymnasium, every morning he used to come by my house and he called me to go together to the school, the bicycles. And such a nice time with police and Agis and all the others. I shall miss him. I won't forget how homesick he was. He wanted to visit Cyprus again. He didn't do it. God, let him rest in peace. I shall never forget him.
Hi to everybody. I'm Yannis, John, a close friend to Gullis, and I want to say a few words about my best friend that I have in my life. I prepared something for that. My friendship with Gullis was a special, long time and true one. We share likes and dislikes, interests, from our preschool years until Gullis left Cyprus for higher studies in the United States. True friendship involves action, doing something for someone else while expecting nothing in return. In 1969, I decided to study in the United States. Gullis gave me all the initial and very crucial support to start my new life in America without anything in return. Without Gullis, I would never achieve my goals that became true. Although we were living in different states, our communication was active and intensive. We trusted each other and concerned about each other's difficulties. We were very happy to see each other to succeed in life. Gullis was a charismatic person. I would describe his character in a few special words. Gullis was an honest friend, a unique and interesting person, supportive to all friends, a friend you can trust, a friend who makes it clear that he cares about you, a friend who sticks with you in good times and bad. Gullis was a high-level educated man. Always he was thirsty for new ideas, and his progressive thinking for democracy made him a unique human being. His love for Cyprus was a mixture of passion and dreams for a better future. Our telephone discussions, for this matter, it was always an endless conversation. Gullis was a person who could be respected and loved. I was very lucky and fortunate to have Gullis in my life as my real best friend. My friendship with Gullis over 65 years, it was a unique one that I will remember until my last moment in this life. Charlie, everybody will remember you forever.
Hi Jen. We know this is supposed to be about Charlie, but there's no way we can talk about him without talking about you, as the two of you became so interconnected in our world. After all, you were our very first true New England friend, with Patricia being our first non-New England friend, and when it came to Charlie, we all became thicker than thieves at some point. We remember many evenings during the early stages of your relationship, discussing the options with you, perhaps fueled by an excess of wine, but hey. And Paul and I would come away wondering how such an obviously intelligent and educated man could be so ignorant when it came to you. We thought it might have been a Greek thing, but Patricia assured us it was not. Obviously, his heart won out, and he finally came to his senses. And it's a beautiful love story that we still enjoy telling to our friends. You both made each other very happy, and since he made you happy, that made us happy. As time went on, we got to know Charlie and grew to know him as a friend as well. To say he was respected and known in the industry would be an understatement, but it is the personal side that I think I most remember. The cooking, the stories, the gems of information that would sometimes come out in conversation are all fond memories, but the one that stands out in my mind to this day happened after Aegis when we were both working for Raytheon. At some point, Paula was going through what polite people like to call the change, and everyone else knows as menopause, and I was complaining to the Greek about what had happened to my normally level-headed spouse. He gave a little Charlie chuckle and said, "I completely understand, my friend," and I sympathized. You have to remember that I went through it not once, but twice. I don't know what I was thinking. I can't remember if it made me feel any better, but I do remember it made me laugh, and I think it was love.
Hello, my name is Robert Ashman. I'm proud to say I'm a friend of Charlie's for a quarter of a century. First met Charlie when at work. I worked with him at Aegis, a company that he found, as many of you know. I had the unique opportunity to work alongside him and his beautiful wife, Jan. So I basically have always known Charlie as Charlie and Jan. I had the unique pleasure of being their boss for a period of time when they relocated to Florida, and used to visit them often. That was a perk of the job, I guess. And then my family started to vacation down in beautiful Melbourne with them, where they all got very close to both Charlie and Jan. And they really changed our lives. And I think everyone can attest to the miracle that they both are. But Charlie in particular, for me, Charlie has always been something of a father figure and of a sensei, if you would, as someone I could bounce ideas off of, someone I could talk to about pretty much anything. Always a plethora of information, and he always knew what to say at the right time. And I cherish every opportunity I had to ever talk with him. And when we look back on Charlie's life and we reflect, and say that we'll miss him. I can't really say that I'll miss him because I don't think he's gone. One of the things that I had talked with Jan about when she, shortly after Charlie had moved on, was how it felt like he never left. And now that time's passed a little bit here, I've come to realize that I think that we feel this way because Charlie was such a bright light in all of our lives that he's left an imprint in our beings, in my heart, in my family's hearts, and all of his friends. So, will we miss Charlie? No, he's around us all the time, always. We carry him inside of us. Leave it to Charlie to trick immortality. And in a way, by spreading his light and his love and kindness in all of us.
This video is for Grandpa Charlie's grandchildren. I'm Auntie Linda Griffin, Grandma Jan's sister. A lot of people knew your Grandpa Charlie for a long time, and they have wonderful memories. So I thought I'd share with you, his grandchildren, a piece of your grandpa's life for you to remember. I'm here at 103 Fontaine Street in Floridana Beach, where Grandpa lived. He loved to feed the birds and the squirrels, marvel at the lizards and the blue crabs, collect his mermaid artwork, and lots of books. Your grandpa had an extra special mind that remembered all sorts of interesting facts and stories. Most of you have been here with Grandpa. He probably brought you to the beach where he loved to fish and swim. Or maybe he showed you all his flowering plants, his fig and fruit trees. You probably played in the fountain, or maybe you sat on his lap. But you were pretty young then and might not remember being where he lived. He loved when you were with him, and I hope you remember how much you loved being with him too.
My name is Talo and I am Charlie's sister, Gulis, as we used to call him here in Cyprus. I am going to share with you some of my memories from our childhood. I remember the first day of my primary school, Gulis, being the big brother, accompanied me to the school. Gulis was always minding his own business and he was not involved in issues between George and me. I don't remember I had ever any fight with Gulis. He used to spend a lot of time in electronics. I remember that he made a small radio with headphones using parts of an old radio we had. In our adulthood, Gulis was far away, but we stayed close together. I visited him and his family many times, and he was coming to Cyprus with his family or alone when he was going to Israel for business. During the visits, he wanted to eat some traditional dishes and our mother was so happy to prepare them for him. After our mother has gone, I was the one who was cooking for him what he liked. Some of these traditional dishes he was cooking for his family and friends in the States. One time, when he came himself to Cyprus, George arranged to come to Cyprus from Greece. This was a very big surprise for him, and we had a nice time, the three of us together. There are many more memories that we share, but not enough time to share with you. What I would like to say is that I will have Gulis always in my heart with love.
Hi Jen, this is Inbal and David.
Of course.
And for dear Charlie, we would like to share some words on his behalf. And I will start. This is what David is telling about Charlie. I met Charlie by the end of the 90s after receiving a highly great recommendation from one of my customers asking me to contact him and his company All in Ages, then named All in Ages, to try and be its representative in Israel, and this is where we live, in Israel. And ever since our first meeting, we became very good friends. It must have been the same Mediterranean temper, Charlie being a very proud Cypriot and I coming from Israel, both shared, that brought us to this special close relationship. Thinking of Charlie now reminds me of a meeting we had during one of my visits in the USA, where Charlie made a compliment over a shirt I was wearing, not like this, saying that it makes me look like a rich man. I took it as a compliment. Our years of doing business together were very fruitful, and the cooperation between Charlie and my company was of course very professional, but on the same time very kind and cooperative, from Charlie's company and staff, and of course you, dear Jen, conducting it all for us and for my company. I was honored to host Charlie in Israel, as well as in my home. I was very honored to be a guest in his home in USA as well. I know that one of his dreams was to host me in his motherland, Cyprus, which is so close to here, to Israel. Charlie was such a kind, gentle man who always remembered to send us greetings on our Jewish holidays, keeping us posted on his magnificent emails about any topic in the world he wanted to share with us. When I got ill, I shared these sorrow moments with Charlie, who knew how to encourage me and how to give me hope and how to tell me not to give up. I cherish these words in my heart, and they will forever be with me. And to you, Jen, you were a big part of our business success together with Charlie, and we shared a lot of laughs together. True?
True.
To you, who took such a good care of Charlie, we wish, all of us together, good health and long and joyful life together with your supporting and loving family and friends. Peace from Israel, David, Bracha, Inbal, and all our family.
Charlie is one of those people you were lucky to know. I'll tell you a story about the time Charlie and I shared together at the beach. Our families were there enjoying the sand and the water. Charlie and I walked off a bit to the beginning of the jetty. From there we could look up and down the beach and the river. Charlie thanked me for inviting them to spend the day with us at the beach. He was always polite and always came across as a real gentleman. I found him easy to be with. He asked how my work was going and listened to my answer. You know, he really listened. He looked at you, not around you or at something else when you were talking. It was as if he stared at your face. Somehow he would more completely understand what you were saying. And I think he probably did. He was easy to talk to. I asked him about his plans. You see, he was retiring in a few months and he just oozed excitement and anticipation for the coming trip he and Jan were taking. The plan, as best as I can recall, had to do with living on a riverboat floating through Europe. Specifically, I think, Eastern Europe. He just couldn't wait for the time when Charlie and Jan would be floating down the beautiful river valleys, visiting the ancient cities, enjoying fine foods and wine along the way. As he talked about it, it was clear that he and Jan were bound together in this planned trip as they seemed to be in the rest of their lives. And this sort of trip was perfect for him, with his vast and deep knowledge, love of history. I'm sure he would have engaged the tour guide, probably gently, correcting him on some dates or places or stories behind the buildings. It's hard to say how getting the news of Charlie's cancer struck me, but specifically it pulled me back to this time I spent with him on the beach. Such a powerful contract that news was to the joyful sharing of his retirement plans. In a world where people like Charlie are all so rare, and in a world where, even though we know better, we're always seeking things to be fair, Charlie's cancer wasn't fair to anyone. The lesson he taught me, or perhaps reiterated, is that we must strive to be in the present. While Charlie was gleefully planning the trip, all the details, he was equally enjoying feeling the sand in his toes on the beach, watching children play, smiling at Jan. He was right there.
My name is Sammy, and I am Grandpa Charlie's first granddaughter. I used to share fruit with him on his chair. Whenever I would watch a show, he would always watch it with me. He was my best friend, so we'll always remember him through our hearts. We love you, bye!